Welcome back to our weekly Ask Me Anything series here on London Real. I really appreciate all the questions I get, and I hope y'all are enjoying me kind of riffing with different answers, getting a little more personal than I do on the show. You know, when I'm filming London Real, I like to stick to business. You know, I respect the guests' time, and I always want to find out more about them, so I keep my trap a little bit more shut. But here on these AMAs, I can really give you a little bit more information if you're so inclined. This week was a question that someone asked me, and they said, Brian, why did you go and study mechanical engineering at MIT? And that's a great question, and one that maybe some of you don't know about me. You might have known more, and if you want to know more about me, you can watch my episode where I was a guest on London Real called Becoming London Real, when my good friend Sully Breaks interviews me as the host. It was very strange with him sitting in my seat, but it was good. But you would have heard about my history. I'm actually from San Diego, California, and when I was 18, I moved the entire length of America over to a town called Boston. Actually, it's Cambridge in Massachusetts, similar to the Cambridge here in the UK. And I went to a school called MIT, which is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And for me, I don't know if you would know, but I was quite a nerdy, techie kid. I was pretty nerdy when I was in my younger days, and I used to love science fair projects. I was really good at science fairs, and I even came second place in the state of California after winning the Greater San Diego Science Fair, which is a huge deal, and it's a lot of science kids. And I used to build these crazy science fair projects. I mean, they were no joke. I mean, I was building cathode ray tubes and all this stuff, thanks to the help of my dad, my pops, Mr. Freeman Rose. And so I was really into that as a kid, and so for me, I applied to Stanford, and I applied to Cornell and UPenn and Wharton, but really I wanted to be a tech guy, and I got into Caltech where my dad went, and I got into MIT, and quite frankly, I went up to Caltech with my pops, and I looked around, and there weren't any girls. And I was like, peace, because I wasn't that nerdy. And so then I went to Boston, and I was just crazy urban environment with all this energy, and I was like, I gotta go here. So I went, and I also wanted to get the hell away from my parents and everything that I grew up with, as a lot of young kids do. So I flew out to Boston, and I spent 4 years at MIT, and I have to say, it was just an honor being at that institution every single day. And, you know, I'll be honest, after 4 years, I was probably, jaded with being at university, and I wanted to get out there and rip and roll and stuff. But man, every day walking through, there's a building called Lobby 7 when you walk in on Massachusetts Avenue, and it's this big domed building. And when I would walk in there, I'd look up into the top of the dome, and I would just have a deep breath. Oh, I can feel like I'm there. Every day I walked in there, and I'm like, man, you're at an institution that was gone to by Nobel Prize winners and the scientists, the talent. And I always felt so honored to be a part of that. And that place, it beat me like a dog. People always say, oh, what was Boston like? Was it a nice city? And the honest truth is, I don't know. I never saw the city because I was in the library studying my motherfucking ass off. And, we used to have this 24-hour library called Hayden at MIT, and I used to study there until 6 in the morning, and there would be a crew of us, and we would all study there. So it was crazy, but they call it, when you get to MIT, they have a picture of somebody sticking a fire hose in their mouth. And so that's the common joke and analogy there, is it's like drinking out of a fire hose, and it is. And they take no prisoners, and if you can't handle it, then you get kicked out. And so it was amazing, and I really got to, test myself against, steel against steel, and see if I could handle it. And quite frankly, I could handle it. And it was really good for an ego boost to know that I could compete. And so mechanical engineering was a default for me. I always loved restoring my Ford Mustang when I was in high school. I loved working on that car, and I liked engineering, and so that seemed like a no-brainer for me. Computer science, that was my brother did, and I really wasn't the best coder, although I could code. I actually was coding Fortran when I was 14, 15 years old in Pascal, and I even took an assembly language class at the University of California, San Diego. So I kind of knew what I was doing, but I didn't want to do that, and there was no internet back then. So I went on with mechanical engineering, and so I got my degree there. Fascinating stuff, again, just learning about fluid dynamics and how structures are built and how metals bend, and why is an I-beam in the shape of an eye? That's a good question. If you know the answer, put it down here below. Why is it in the shape of an eye? It's a great question. And material science, and I learned so much, and I just love being there. But at the same time, I had summer jobs, and I worked for Ford Motor Company one summer, and I loved it because I had a Ford Mustang, and I was like, wow, and I was in Dearborn, Michigan, and it was amazing. But I looked around at these 40, 45-year-old guys, and I was like, these guys are sitting around, they're making 40 grand, they're running the emissions device for a car that's going to be built in 7 years. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to be that guy. I quite honestly, I wanted bigger things for myself. And so I soon got jaded with the world of engineering. I worked for the Aerospace Corporation for the following summer, where I worked on the Galileo space probe, one of NASA's projects. And I mean, all this stuff sounds cool, and it was, but for me, I wanted something more. And that's when I really got the finance bug. And so at MIT, they allow you to take classes with the business school students at the Sloan School of Management, one of the great business schools in the world. And so I went in and got to take Introduction to Finance as a junior, and I competed against all these former these MBA students that were like 28 years old, and I was smoking them because, options pricing theory, you need differential equations, and that was all easy for me. And so I was just like, bam, 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 and I was loving it. And I remember I had the Wall Street Journal delivered to my fraternity doorstep. It's not a joke. And I used to read that thing cover to cover when I was like 20 years old. And so I became fascinated with finance, and I went would put my sights on Wall Street. And so that's how I made that transition into banking. I guess maybe it was greed or maybe excitement. They used to ask JFK, why did you go into government? And he used to say, or him and Bobby, why did they go into government? He said, because that's where the action is. And so I think that's part of the reason I wanted to go to Wall Street, because that's where the action was. That's where all the players were. And so, I interviewed with a few companies. I got an offer, I think, from Morgan Stanley to be an investment banker in mergers and acquisitions. But I was like, you know what? I don't really want to pitch deals and do all that bullshit. I wanted to trade. I wanted to get on the phone and say, mine, yours, and buy and sell and structure products. And so that's what I did. I got an offer with Bankers Trust, which was a really kind of a scrappy, up-and-comer, hot, highly quant-based derivative shop. And I got an offer there, and I went, and our office was right next to the World Trade Center, and it was the baddest thing in the world. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that was my start. It was fantastic, and I left that engineering degree behind. I actually got into the Sloan School of Management to get my MBA on that 5th year, but I couldn't stand being around those fucking management school students. They were so boring. They were all like 27, 28, and I was just like, man, I got to get out of here. So I went straight to Wall Street and started my banking career, and there you go. The rest is history. So I never went back to engineering, but it was a great base, and it was a great way to show that I could handle myself, against some of the top minds in the world. And so it was a real confidence booster when I figured out how I could get like straight A's. Like my first semester was like my big accomplishment at Here's a little story I haven't really told anybody. At MIT, there's not a 4.0 when you get all A's. It's actually a 5.0. And so my first semester of my sophomore year, the first semester they grade you, I got all A's in my courses. And so guys would say 5.0, yo, 5.0. And the Ford Mustang had a 5.0 liter car then, and one of the guys was like, yeah, you got to get the 5.0 from the Ford Mustang and wear it around your neck. And I was like, okay, that's a little crazy. So so back to my point, I'm just saying that being able to compete at such an institution really gave me a lot of confidence, and I think I still draw that to this day. When I'm stuck with a big challenge, I just say, you know what, I know I can compete, I know I'm good enough, so let's just do it. So there you go. There's a little bit of a backstory on me. So that's why I studied mechanical engineering. That's why I went to MIT, and that's why I switched to become an evil, greedy banker. And it was awesome, and trading derivatives. I'll do another one about that sometime, but it was absolutely amazing. I got on the 33rd floor of Bankers Trust Plaza, and like the second day, they stuck a phone in my hand and said, this is the futures exchange in Chicago where you buy and sell your futures. Here's where you buy government bonds, and here's where you do this. Go. And I was just like, okay, I'm 22. And they were like, go. So anyways, but to be continued, that story. I hope you're enjoying this. If you like this AMA, tell me. If you didn't like it, tell me, because I'm trying to get your questions, the ones you want, so I can ask for next week. Leave your question below. Ask me something crazy. Ask me something silly, whatever. I will answer your questions. And if you're liking this series, please click on the button and subscribe. Forward it to your friends. Tweet it out, all that. Let them know about London Real. I think we're doing something really special here. with the way we talk to people every week and we listen to people, you know. And I think we're a bunch of a wonderful group of people that are doing this. And thank you for being a part of it. And thanks for your support. And peace to you. That's it. I'm out of here.